see when you're actually building the free edge. So a lot of you that are beginning, let's say you are a successful submersive, you brush, you're successful picking up the right size bead. What you don't want to do is set it down to the free edge and have a consistency that starts to run. Because what you're going to end up doing most of the time is trying to chase it. So a lot of you that are beginning, what you end up doing is you end up sliding it to the corners just like this. Right? You can see, right? I can slide it to the side, I can slide it to the side. Take a look, right? For those of you guys that are starting, you can see how thin it is in the middle right here, and you can see how bulky it is. I'm already past. You can see if I actually draw a line with the tip of my brush in between, right? I've gone past my growth channels. Okay, let's go ahead and take this off. So what we want to be able to do to stay within those guidelines is we have to have a consistency that's not going to move. And how we're going to achieve that is picking up a slightly smaller pearl. I'll submerge my brush, I'm going to tap it, I'm going to bounce, and what I want to do is I want to drain my pearl on the back side just like this. Now, you're going to notice that when I set it right here to the form, it's going to stay stable. What I want to do is I want to walk it up even to this growth channel. So as I start from the middle and I start walking it from the top, you're going to notice that it's very easy for me to walk it even with that growth channel from the very, very top of the pearl. Same thing on the opposite side. What I want to be able to do is walk it from the top of the pearl within the guidelines. So as soon as I get down to the side, I don't slide it up to the corner. I slide it even, walk it up to the top so that I can tuck it absolutely perfect with my sides. As I brush this forward and make it even, you can see from the top profile that I have not gone past my sidewalls. I had stayed within the range right here. So let's say you got to this part. You're all set, you're ready to rock and roll. And you're like, okay, I watched Greg, I see the consistency that he's working with, you're very successful picking it up, you come in, you bounce, give yourself a nice fluffy pearl, you go ahead and you set it right down to the cuticle area, and you start working it around, and then what you notice after you get it is that it starts to run to the sides, and then you start to panic. And then the first thing you do is you start to brush it from the middle. Notice that when I brush it from the middle first, it literally splits the acrylic out to the outside, and then what you're left with is a bulky, basically, perimeter. Right? So you can see how wide the nail got because I pulled it from the middle. Alright, so let's say you get to this point and you start to set this down, and you're like, okay, I need to fill the free edge, and then you take your bead and you take another bead that's really, really big. You don't set it right here, you end up setting it right here in the front. Okay? And then what you end up doing, again, is working it to the side, and you're just bringing it up, and you're pushing it out. You're struggling blending the acrylic and creating a really, really wide structure is here. What I end up doing, again, is working it side to side. The acrylic ends up so you have to go into right, to fill in that space, right? All you keep doing is adding to the surface, and as you can see, I end up building a really, really wide acrylic nail. So the biggest problem with this is that I don't have the right consistency when I'm setting it down, and I'm setting it in the wrong position. I feel that a lot of students or beginners, when they set the acrylic, they don't stare at it, hoping that the product is going to work magic, right? And they constantly work the product from side to side. You have to be able to adjust based on that means that you have to turn the brush into the body of the nail. Those are things that you're going to have to act if the product is drying too quickly. So this right here, again, ends up becoming really, really wide, and depending on how much acrylic you actually build on the nail, can be really, really thick, which is going to set you up for disaster. I want to be able to show you, look at this with the spatula. If I was to take the nail and line this up at my growth channels, right, you can see that if I'm actually just kind of cutting in some lines, so I've gone that much farther out, which is a lot of hand filing. It's going to take you probably 20 to 30 minutes more to get all 10 nails filed finished into perfection. All right, so let's go back to building the free edge, and I'm going to show you what to do so that you don't have this type of mess. Let's go ahead and pick up the right size pearl. I'm going to go ahead and submerge my brush. All right, I'm going to try to pull out, I'm going to tap it a couple times, pull out some good monomer. I'm going to bounce a couple of times. I'm going to get a smaller size pearl. I'm going to quickly drain it. I'm going to set it to the free edge so it doesn't run. And then I'm going to work it from the center all the way out, even with the growth channel, and then walk it from the top, and then follow my growth channel so that I have a really nice thin extension. Doesn't have to be thick. You're going to build your strength with the body and your blending beads. So as long as I keep it within my guidelines, as you can see, this is going to set me up for initial success. You just go ahead and straighten everything out. Okay, now when we apply the body, this is really, really important. The consistency that I have, right, is going to set you up so that when you brush the acrylic forward, it's going to blend around the perimeter of the nail with ease. The way I hold my brush and I contour to the shape of the nail is also going to determine whether I stay within those guidelines. Check this out. I submerge my brush and I lightly tap, and I bounce, bounce, bounce to get myself a nice fluffy pearl. 3, 2, 1, and I go ahead and set this down. I'm going to have a really nice consistency that's going to be very, very easy to push around the perimeter of the nail. Now here's the thing, as soon as I do that, I literally take the tip of my brush and start pulling the surface down. When I start to pull, I pull from my sides, down through the front of the nail, and then take the tip of my brush. Notice how I contour. So I'm staying within the guidelines, but you can see as I pull through from the sides and then from the front, I'm able to shape it, right? I'm able to shape it nice and round around the perimeter of the nail. Not only that, but by brushing it down the side, what I'm actually able to do is I'm actually able to kind of seal it and get it really, really tight to the sides, as you can see right there. All right? I don't have any ledges. You can see from the top how round it is, right? I don't have a lot of bulkiness past the sides. I've stayed within my guidelines, okay? So depending on how much acrylic you use is going to determine how far or how thick it is when you're brushing it forward from the front. I'm not brushing it from the back. As soon as I touch it tight, I start with the tip of my brush from here and I start to brush it. And I literally start from here and end here. I don't touch this area. I'm using the bottom half of the pearl to brush forward so that I have that nice round contour from side to side. If you're looking at the side profile, what I need to do is I need to be able to fill the acrylic from this point to this point. I don't need to pile it up back here. I need to literally start from here to here. So when I set my pearl down, I don't want to push from here. I'm going to rotate my brush as I set it down. I'm going to press it down, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to blend backwards, and then use the body of my brush to, again, stay within these guidelines. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to get a nice bead. I'm not going to drain it. I'm going to set it right down here. Notice how I blend it, and then what I could do is you can see I'm taking the tip of my brush and blending it in, so it leaves all the excess to the front. At this point, I wipe my brush, and then I start to use the body of my brush to get it even from side to side. So again, I'm using the body of my brush. Notice how I'm walking back over the top. I'm not brushing it yet. All I'm doing is using the body of my brush to walk it over the top, staying within these guidelines so that I have an even structure from side to side that's able to fill the gap in between and the free edge that you built from the beginning. Let's go ahead and even out the tip of the side of my brush. As you can see, I'm actually able to sculpt a nail. So once the acrylic is dried, you have to remember that the first part of perimeter shaping is going to set you up so that when you file the enhancements into shape, you're going to have a nice, slender look on the nail. What I mean by that is this. Notice my hand file, it needs to stay connected to the whole entire side. I'm keeping it dead straight. I'm not opening it up when I'm filing. So as I file from cuticle to free edge, I'm building a really, really straight wall from this point to this point. It's the same on the opposite side. If I have my hand file here connected, and I'm filing up, and I'm keeping it connected to the whole entire side, notice that I'm going to have a really nice straight wall from here all the way to the back. I'm going to get my lower arches into shape. I'm going to taper my free edge. Just go ahead and file this really well into shape. File in one direction coming down. The best part about it is once you have the nail built out and shaped, all you're doing is reducing bulk around the perimeter of the nail. It's going to be very, very easy for you to file finish with your hand file once you've taken the majority of the excess down. The amount of time that I actually have to spend file finishing is not long at all. You can see, once I shape from here to here, you can see from this profile, you can look at how straight my sides are going to be. Everything, the file is connected all the way to the back. And I have a nice even structure from side to side.
Hey guys, what's going on? We hope you love our videos. Let us know in the comments below what you want to see next. To see more, head over here. To subscribe to our channel, head over here. What's going on, guys? Today's video, active length nails, preparation, application, finishing by Greg Solom himself. Check it out.
Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. Alright, so got a couple DMs last night about short nails. Had a student who was basically just frustrated with application. So I guess doesn't really struggle with longer application, but when it comes to shorter application, it's definitely a struggle. So I recommended basically, you just have to use less product. So I'm going to go over that. I'm going to use acrylic today, and I'm going to show you exactly
how you're going to be able to achieve the right amount when you're working with shorter nails. I call them active length nails, so this is going to help you tremendously. For those of you guys who are joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Gregory Salo. I'm one of the co-owners of Young Nails. I want to, the purpose of this is to educate as well as entertain, okay? So I'm going to give you a first-person perspective on how nails are going to be done. I cover all aspects, preparation, application, as well as finishing. And that way, you have a really, really good understanding on what I'm going to be able to do, okay? All right, so let's get right to this. All right, so what I'm going to do is I already poured nail liquid inside my dish. I usually take a separate towel, right? And I'll go ahead and fix this. What about nail biters? So it's the same thing. When it comes to nail biters, there's only one thing you can do, and you have to sculpt. All right, so you can see how I fold this over. I'm going to use this as my wiping pad. All right, so it's the same exact thing. I mean, if you're working on someone who has long natural nails, it's one thing. If you have somebody who has shorter nails, it's one thing. If you have somebody who has severely bitten nails, and I'll go ahead and kind of create that scenario for you, but this is usually what a bitten nail will look like, okay? This is basically the biggest challenge I think that everybody has, but you have to be able to put your form. The only way to make shorter nails look basically more slender is you have to pinch in a C-curve. That's how you're going to get it to look slender. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to be focusing on shorter nail application, okay? So in order for you to master shorter nail application, first thing we're going to do in prep is push back the cuticles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my electric file, I'm going to take off the carbide bit, I'm going to go ahead and put on my mandrel with arbor band. What I want to be able to do at this point is remove it. So for those of you guys that have been joining me on a daily basis, one of the things you can do is you can hold your brush here, and you can see if I hold my brush here and I slide this up, the band will come off. If you don't have the strength to do that, you can clip it at the edge and peel it off. And what I mean by that is, once you actually have the band on, it gets stuck on my glove here, right? So you can see the threads right here. For those of you guys that struggle with that method, you could always take a toenail clipper, and what you can do is you could just basically, you just peel this piece back right here, see that? And then what you're going to do is it just unravels. Once it unravels, it comes right off. So there's two ways of doing it. This is really going to help you guys tremendously. Again, putting this on, if it doesn't go all the way down, you can take your handpiece, turn it over, and just push the balance in, and that's how you're going to get it on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up my electric file. I have it at 8,000 RPMs. I'm going to get it down to 3,000. I'm a righty, so I'm going to be working at forward. I'm going to go ahead and fire this on. Oops, not 16, sorry. And at 3, boom, see that? All right, so when I'm removing shine from the surface of the nail, it's really, really important to be very, very gentle. So how do I do that? I use basically my electric file, and I work in one direction. So if I'm working around the cuticle area, I'm going to tickle, 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 right? Coochie, coochie, coo, all the way around. So you can see how the shine is removed around the cuticle area. Once I'm done removing shine around the cuticle area, I work in this direction, from this corner to this corner, and I use a feathering motion. So you can see how I'm tickling. I'm using the zone. You can see the markings on my bit, right? So I'm using a feathering motion. As I start working down the barrel, I'm just going to start gravitating towards the bottom of my barrel, right? So I'm not going side to side. I'm feathering away the shine just like this. That's how you're going to do it effectively, okay? So you're going to notice, it doesn't matter whether you're in this position. I'm going to kind of zoom out so that you guys can see how my hand position is. My pinky is here. You see how my handpiece is resting? I don't hold it like this, right? I rest it, right, inside the crease of my hand. And this will allow me to work around in one direction. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, then what you're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and simulate this for all you lefties out there. But what you're going to do, it's the same exact thing. You have to work in forward. I have my position just like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to work around this position. And then you have to make sure that you feather this way, right? From this corner all the way down. You're using a feathering motion while you're working, okay? So it's the same thing. You just have to make sure that your electric file is in reverse. Since I'm right-handed, I have to make sure that it is in forward, right? It has to be in forward. That way the barrel does not spin around the nail like this. We don't want to go around the world. Okay, so why do you need an electric file? It's the most effective way for you to prepare the natural nail. For those of you guys that are in school, or were basically finishing school and your instructor said that you should be using your hand file to prep, let me tell you, that is absolutely the most outdated, whack technique ever, okay? Hand filing for prep is a joke. It's like comparing, the way you listen to music, right? You download music and you listen to it, you know, on iTunes and Spotify, man. Like, I compare prepping with a hand file like buying an 8-track recorder and listening to music that way. Which doesn't even exist anymore, right? Old school, lame techniques. The way to prep, again, is, now, here, look, I understand not everybody has an electric file. So if you can afford one and you need to prep, let me show you how to do it, okay? So, if you had no choice, right, because you couldn't afford to do it, you can't afford to buy one, okay? So this method here of going like this is a joke. You don't prep the nail by doing this in one direction, okay? What you do is you line your hand file at the cuticle area and you gently feather down the side, okay? So you can see how well prepped that is. I'm going to do the other thing. I'm resting my file here. Tickle, 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 coochie, coochie, coo, all the way down. Look at that, right? Covers the perimeter of the nail. Once I'm done filing the perimeter of the nail, then all I have to do, again, I'm working, look at this, all the way down, tickling off all the shine. Right, but you can see how long this is taking me. It's taking me forever to do this, but I have to be thorough, right? So for all of you guys out there, again, that have no choice, this is how you do it, right? You don't do it like this. This right here, this is a joke. This is not how you do it. There's no professional in the world who preps their nails with that lame technique, okay? All right, so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take swipe, we're going to pump, and then, right, so for all of you guys that got your manicure brushes inside your kits, you're going to be able to dust away all the shine. It's the same thing if you're working. You could also use wipes if you want to go ahead and clean the surface. Once you're done cleaning the surface, what you're going to do is you're going to take protein bond, and what we're going to do with a nice even coat is we're going to put we're going to do 2 coats, right? So I want to be able to show you guys even how I apply
It's good
pressure.
you're still
You see how I'm
doing it.
balancing my hands like this?
And happy
This
you
is
haven't
really
given up on it
huge.
yet.
Even when I'm
Freaking suck.
applying a protein bond, I use my
Yeah,
finger as a
fucking don't even have enough
fulcrum,
money to
a
make my
point of
payment.
balance, right? So that
I need to
my
buy more
hands
nail
don't shake
stuff.
when I'm working.
School?
I find that a lot of beginners, when they're working, right, they're shaking all over the place like this because they don't have stability. So if you dip your brush and you balance your finger like this, it gives you the ability. You're going to be using
It just takes
this
practice.
technique.
I'm sure like those
You're
big
applying nail
nail
polish,
salon
you're applying
places
gel
who do all the
polish, you're
fancy
applying
designs and
everything.
stuff, I'm sure
And
they
I
weren't that
understand
good
a lot
at
of you
first
beginners
either.
out there, it's
I bet
really
they've been
hard
doing
for
it
you
for
to be able
years.
to
It looks
basically
hard.
get used to the experience
Yeah, it just
or
takes
the
practice.
feeling, but you have
I
to
just
trust
wish I was
me,
good at
right?
it.
Maybe you should
Everything
practice more.
that I preach and
I
teach
feel like you do it a lot, but
has
you could do
everything
it
to
more.
do with getting comfortable with the
Yeah.
uncomfortable. No one said that doing nails is super easy, but in order for you to get to that point where it becomes second nature, you have to remember that you have to have strong fundamentals. And the fundamentals that I teach are a means of getting your hands, your joints, your muscles, and your fingers really strong, right? That way you're used to holding bottles in your hand like this, right? Simple things by holding bottles in your hand while you work to be able to have the dexterity, right? So that you don't need to be going back and forth. It's the same thing with holding your brushes, balancing, whether you're doing design work or you're working with a acrylic or a gel brush or even an electric file. It's the same exact thing. It's being able to position your hands so that when you work, you don't slip. You have good stability. So stability for me, a lot of the fundamentals that I teach are all based on those factors. So to cap basically this long nail with one bead. How big should the bead be? Okay, so you can see inside my jar. If I submerge my brush and I tap off the excess, I'm not going to do that. No matter what record you're using, number 8, and using number 12, you just take your brush and do this. Liquid off of it. I don't want you to drag the end of your brush. Super dry. Okay? That's not going to do it. What you want to do is need a smooth surface so that when you submerge your brush and you tap, right, based on your bounce. So you can see how that bounce. You're going to get a nice fluffy, even curl. Surface, boom. You have to think. Right? I use the this out. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we keep everything in view so you can see. Too short going to bounce. Notice that I'm basically getting a bead that's about half, a little bit less than half the size of the area. Flush. So all the process to try to get the product flow down. I want to pull with the front. So that's the key right? Blend it look at how nice and tight it is to the edge. Right? So that right there is really, really key. So this is what you're trying to create a nice overlay. I don't want to build a crazy amount of thickness. If you're looking at it from side to side, I'm working it from side to side, over the top, possibly can. Based on this, okay, on this length, the same principle that I used on the overlay to doing the shot. To do that. Just like here at the bottom. And what we want to be able to do is when we place this, I just need to get it underneath, right? You can see it's kind of like at an angle, which is fine. You kind of see if I take the camera and I pull it to the side, you want to see the angle that it's at. That's fine. See the bottom of my hand right here? I'm going to use this to lift it up. So I'm holding on to the wings, and what I end up doing is I end up taking my hand and I end up lifting it straight. The side walls, the form is going to be perfectly straight coming out. This is really, really, really good. Okay, so now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to go ahead and sculpt a really, really thin, small free edge. Let me just go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to get tight. So I'm going to go no longer than that first line right there. How much product do I need? This time I need to remove quite a bit of monarch from my brush, and I'm probably only going to have to bounce a couple of times. Okay, so submerge my brush, and then again, I'm just going to bounce a couple of times. I want myself to make a small bead. This time I want to be able to dab off the excess because I do not want to run all over the place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that right here at the front. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I need to get this even with the sides. I'm going to walk it from the top. I'm using almost the base of my brush. Notice how I'm pressing it from the very top for me to get it to the side. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm walking it down even with the growth channel. You see that bulge that I have right here? I'm using the base of my brush to walk it all the way up. And what I can do is I can shorten the length in the front.
You're not gonna want it on.
So this
What?
right here,
You're in my car.
free edge first.
Why do you leave everything in your car?
I don't know, it's a real problem. It's pretty annoying.
You want to be able to build this now. I'm going with a square. Oh, I'm set. Okay. Just
I have some you could use.
crazy long. Active length. Active length. Look at this, right? So if I'm comparing, I've just built it the length of that. There is no difference, right? So I'm going to take the principle that I use to overlay this, and I'm going to basically do the same thing on this nail right here. Okay? For those of you guys that want to be able to watch this later, I will save this on live so that you guys can go back and review it. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same exact thing. I'm going to take my bead, half the length, right, half the size of the nail. I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to tap. You see the divots that I have inside here? I need to flatten those out. Okay, so what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to lightly press, bounce, 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 right? Now, notice I didn't drain anything. I need it to be quite wet. That way, when I go ahead